Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about nonfiction books that I would like to read. Let's go. Thank you to my patrons. I really appreciate all you do to support the channel. So if you've been following me for a while, you know I don't read a whole lot of nonfiction. I do read some, but nonfiction has never been something that strongly appeals to me. Maybe it's because I read a ton of it in college and I'm just burned out. Who knows? But there are a few books that really stick in my mind or really intrigue me that I want to read. And so I'm going to give you a list of 6 different books today that are on my priority list to read in the near future. And with nonfiction, I typically do audiobooks. For some reason, I just process nonfiction material better when I'm doing it on audiobook versus a physical book. So let's get right to my list. The first one on this list is Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Now, some of you may be familiar with Jay Shetty. He's a popular motivational speaker, author, comedian in some respects. He has a podcast where he interviews a lot of different celebrities and thinkers and things like that. He spent several years as a monk in a monastery, and so this book is his reflections on his time being a monk and coming out back into the real world, but taking the things that he learned while being a monk and applying them to his everyday life in the real world, and how we can do the same. I thought it was a pretty cool concept, and I've enjoyed a lot of the things I've watched and heard from Jay Shetty, so I figured I'd give his book a try and see if I like it or not. The next book on my list is Originals by Adam Grant. This is a book basically talking about original thinking and creativity, coming up with ideas and championing them in the workplace, in your personal life, things like that. People who think outside the box and are kind of more unconventional are the audience that this book is geared toward. I've been really interested to read it for a while. I already have it in my Audible library, so it's just a matter of firing it up and listening to it and see what I think. The next book on my list is Stolen Focus by Johann Hari. I recently came across this guy on the Rich Roll podcast. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Rich Roll, but I had encountered him on the Rich Roll podcast, and I really liked what he had to say on attention culture and, learning how to refocus and think deeply and stay focused on matters of utmost importance versus our culture today, which is constantly bombarded with all these distractions and things to occupy our mind and things to keep us from focusing on what's really most important and what we need to be doing. And it sounded like a really interesting book, so I thought I'd give it a shot, and it's on my wish list currently. I haven't purchased it yet. I'll probably use one of my credits to grab a hold of it. The premise of it was intriguing to me, and I thought, well, I've enjoyed a lot of other books in this same type of subgenre for attention literature. Things like Deep Work by Cal Newport, Digital Minimalism, also by Cal Newport. I thought it was worth giving a shot and see what I think of it. So the next book I want to talk about is Effortless Living by Jason Gregory. Jason Gregory is an Australian author. He is a spiritual teacher and philosopher, highly steeped in Eastern philosophies and meditation practices, things like that. And he's written a few different books, but this is his most recent book, and he deals a lot with how to live life in an effortless and meaningful way, and he gleans a lot of his ideas from different spiritual backgrounds, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism. He is heavily influenced by Taoism, which is kind of what turned me on to his books initially. And I've watched several documentaries that he's put out on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel, and he does documentaries and podcasts and discussions. So I really benefited highly from his video content, and so I wanted to check out his book and give it a read and see what I think. The next book is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is basically the philosophical successor to Carl Sagan. He's a very well-known and well-respected astrophysicist, and I keep seeing this book pop up from time to time, and I've been really intrigued because astrophysics, if you're like me, it is way over my head, like a lot of it. I'm just like, it sounds cool, but I don't get half of it. But this book, it seems to be written for the common layperson who's not really studied astrophysics or anything like that, but wants to get an idea of some of what astrophysics has taught us about life and the universe and things like that. So I'm pretty excited to eventually read this book. This is another one that's on my wish list. I have not purchased it yet, but I hope to in the near future. It will be on audiobook, although, if I find that the audiobook is not working for me, I'd probably pick up the physical book as well. And I've heard people say that it makes a great coffee table book as well. So I'm down for that as well. But I've watched several things with Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of which is the new and improved Cosmos series, which is absolutely fantastic if you have not watched it. So I'm very excited to eventually read this book. And the final book that I want to talk about today is The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh is just an absolutely beautiful person, or was. May he rest in peace. He recently left us last year, and was it the beginning of this year? Maybe it was the beginning of this year. It wasn't too long ago, though, and he was just a wonderful, insightful teacher of spirituality, spiritual thoughts and practices. He taught a lot about meditation, living in the moment, things like that, and I always wanted to read this book, which I've heard is the absolutely highest recommendation of books to read by Thich Nhat Hanh. So I'm just really excited to eventually get to that and glean some little morsels from it. You've heard me say before, I'm heavily influenced by Zen Buddhism and Taoism in my personal life and belief system, not in a religious sense in any way, but philosophically it very much fits with my personal outlook on life, and so I'm always itching to read more and learn more and grow more as a human being. So I'm hoping to read that in the near future. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books or if you've been interested to read them as well. Maybe you can also recommend to me some other books that are kind of along these same lines. This gives you kind of an idea of the types of nonfiction books that I gravitate towards, so maybe you have some other recommendations for me. I'd love to know what those are. Please let me know in the comments. That would be awesome. And until next time, guys, make sure that you are reading more books. I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.